Hi, heroes. I wanted to share with you today the pain of being run by your shadow. What does it actually mean to be run by your shadow? This is a loaded question. When you are being run by your shadow, you are actually running away from it. But while you are running from your shadow is actually controlling you or running you. Confusing, right? What's worse is that when your shadow has taken over, it becomes you, and you're often not aware of it. You become it. So essentially, you are being possessed by it. Sounds creepy, right? The shadow itself really isn't that creepy once you learn to connect to it. What's creepy, though, is letting your shadow run the show of your life. Our shadows have big needs and are kind of ruthless about getting them met, just like a toddler in the candy store who sees the candy and then wants the candy. The desire for the candy takes over, and the toddler is out of control because the want becomes the need. And without it, the toddler feels desperate. Without our attention, our shadow becomes desperate to get his or her needs met, leaving us feeling unfulfilled in our day to day life and leaving us desperate for connection, belonging, safety, and security, and trying to find a way to get our needs met in this external world of validation. I'm Laura, and I'm here to help you connect to your inner child, to help you heal so that you can experience the love you are so worthy of experiencing. So until I started to face my shadow, I had no idea that I was a perfect match for men who had a secret hate of women, which is disowning their own internal feminine. Literally, I seemed to be a magnet for these grown men who were being run by their shadows. The little boy who secretly was angry at his mommy. One thing that I know being on my own healing journey is that whatever is happening externally in our relationships, in our life circumstance, is a reflection of what is happening internally inside of us. It's mirroring the chaos, the wounds, the fears, the regrets, and the disappointments of our inner child who is crying out to us from the shadows, hoping that we'll come and find them. So, as I had been experiencing all this rejection, I couldn't get close emotionally to a partner. I would fall for men who weren't interested in me or be attracted to men who were already in relationships. And it was like I didn't even really know why because I kept getting hurt by these men and I all along I noticed a theme. There was something that was stopping like the emotionally unavailable men from connecting deeper to me, from giving me that intimacy that I was craving. And I had to figure it out, but I started to notice a pattern. And in my last relationship, this is where I really got to see and understand that my partner was mirroring something to me. He was mirroring a part of him that really disowned his own internal feminine because he was carrying a mother wound where he was super angry at his mother. And this was reflecting to me parts of myself that I couldn't see, that I hadn't owned yet because it was in the shadows. And my inner child was calling me to this through the pain I was experiencing of not getting the intimacy I so desired from my partner relationship and not having that emotional connection. So I also had disowned my own internal feminine because of the associations to the feminine, the negative associations to the feminine that I had made because of the strained, um, non attuning relationship I experienced with my mother. My mother was very mentally ill. She had schizophrenia and she also experienced had a baby that was very sick and died when he was 11 months old. And I didn't know this at the time, but she was also in a relationship where she had no emotional safety or security. And she felt very alone, carrying the weight of the world and not having the support and the connection she was so desiring. So my mother was sick, and because I loved her, I took over a lot of caretaking for her. I took care of my sick baby brother, I took care of my other brother, my animal, my mom. I would do a lot of cooking and cleaning. And one thing I really, as I've gone back to heal with my mother wound, that I noticed as a reoccurring theme, that my mom was teaching me massive independence. She was teaching me how to care for life, how to cook, how to clean. At 5 years old, she gave me money. I knew how to count money at 5 years old and go to the store and buy whatever I want. And I felt really confident about doing that. I had a lot of freedom, but I didn't have that safety and that connection from my mother, because while she was teaching me independence and freedom and really how to trust myself, I still, as a child, had this need for security and love and connection. And I couldn't see the love in the things that she was giving me, like teaching me independence and how to take care of myself, because I had a desire for love to be in a different form. I guess where maybe I was more coddled, I didn't have to work so hard. I wasn't the caregiver. And my mom, because she was up and down with her episodes of her mental health, sometimes she was really nasty and she would say really hypercritical things to me. She would smack me, yell at me, um, forced me to eat food I didn't like, or she was too burnt out to actually even make food. So a lot of my physical and emotional, spiritual needs just were not met. But this made me really strong and like a badass. But it made me take on more of a masculine approach to my life, where I was, taking care of everybody and everything else. But I couldn't really let anybody in to take care of me. And I didn't really see any value in me being taken care of, because my worth was all coming from being the caregiver to other people. And this brought me to a place of resentment and anger and rage, because I really desired this intimacy, but I couldn't accept it because I was disowning and I had all this unforgiveness and anger towards my mother. I didn't want to be like her. I didn't want any part of her, like anything that was like her, I rejected. I couldn't see myself like her at all. And, the sad thing for me was that when I was 23 years old, my mom went missing a couple weeks after my unborn babies. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. My son's father died in a tragic car accident. 2 weeks later, my mom went missing. And you'd think that that would give me more compassion for my mother, but it didn't. It just made me feel more alone and more angry and feeling more undeserving until I started doing shadow work. And that's where I got to go back with my inner child and see my life and the experiences I had with my mother in a whole different light. And my heart began to soften and my heart began to melt. And I began to experience love in a way that I couldn't see before and that I had no idea existed. And I started to open my heart to see my mom from a place of compassion. And when I was able to start seeing my mom from a place of compassion, I started to see my own internal feminine and the needs of my inner child with compassion, which softened my shadow and allowed my inner child to come home back to me. And so, as I've been softening, I've started to see the anger in the partner relationships that I was in, and how poorly I was allowing myself to be treated in these relationships with these people who had a secret hatred for the feminine, because they couldn't healed, they hadn't healed with their own internal feminine, and they hadn't allowed that softening so that their shadow could come and be seen in the light of a precious inner child. And so by allowing my inner child's needs to be met by me, by nurturing them with my own divine feminine, I was able to see I was settling for a life, and I was settling for treatment that was not serving me, that was not going to call me forward in love, and that was actually diminishing my light and keeping me small. But I wasn't a, I felt powerless in that situation because I was showing up as my shadow version, my child who was lost in the darkness, looking for love all around outside of me, desperate from getting it from my partner or from friendships or from any source that I could, just to give me an ounce of mercy, an ounce of love, an ounce of compassion. And I would settle for abuse, basically, if it was just mixed in with even a little bit of love, because my shadow was running the show and was so needy and so desperate and almost just entitled to have what she didn't, what she thought she deserved because she didn't have it. But the truth was, in my shadow version, I would never have been able to allow that intimacy, that love, and that emotional connection to get into my heart, because the walls would have been up and my heart needed to soften. And so yes, this makes me so emotional. But by bringing my shadow out of the darkness and seeing my inner child as a reflection of my worth, of the love that I so deserve, I've been able to walk away from people, places, and things that no longer serve me, and stand for my inner child and make choices for my inner child based on my desires. But I don't feel I need to hide anymore. That does, and because I'm not hiding my own desires, my own needs, and I'm learning to resource myself, my inner child doesn't have to go out in the darkness. And when I mess up, sometimes it happens. She goes out there. I know how to bring her back home. And it's a process. And, it's just every time your inner child and you have a rupture, and your shadow takes over, you just get to learn the dance of repair, and then you come back stronger, and you come back learning so much more. And every rupture and repair brings a beautiful, inspiring opening that helps you understand what you're worthy of, and then also helps you get into alignment with the life and the purpose that you were called to do and called to have. And it helps make every action step feeling more fulfilling that you take, and you start to be proud of the decisions and the choices and the life that you've had, even the painful parts, even the traumatic parts. It's like it all just worked out together to bring you this beautiful love story, this beautiful soul love story of healing. And so that is why we do not want our shadow running the show. We want to bring our inner child out of the darkness and into the light that we provide for them. So if this resonated with you today, if you want to hit the like button, if you have any questions or comments or something you'd like me to add to this video, then just let me know, and I will send you out so much love and talk to you soon. Bye.